Welcome to today's episode of Design Your Life. Today I catch up with Craig Andrade, the ex-lawyer turned Australian native botanical fragrance entrepreneur behind the brilliant brand, The Raconteur. Today Craig and I chat about how he redesigned his life after 25 years of a seriously successful career in law, the power of the scent in affecting your mood, confidence, and how it takes you on journeys through your memory, and last but not least, our Frost Chapters candle that we recently collaborated on to produce. A 3-layered candle, like chapters in a book, inspired by my favorite films, music, and poems, which I hope will inspire you when you burn it and connect you with memories and moments and emotions. Today I'm super excited to have Craig here on our vodcast, Design Your Life. Craig is an incredible guy, previously a lawyer, which we'll talk about shortly. Started this brand, The Raconteur, a couple years ago, which is an incredible brand. And we've been working closely on a project in Sydney for our own Frost collaborative with The Raconteur, with Craig. And it's been really, really exciting to do that. Craig, it's been so cool to catch up with you. Welcome to Design Your Life.
Thanks, Vince. Good to be here.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Well, we just came from the studio down the road where you talked to my whole team about the power of scent and the importance of it and how it affects our moods. And let's just unpack that in a little while. But how did you start out in your life and your career?
Well, yeah, exactly. It's not a linear answer. So look, I guess I started out as a lawyer, worked in private practice for about 25 years, working in New York, London, South Africa, and Australia. And I was doing private equity, capital markets, basically corporate work in all those cities. And sort of got to a point in my career where I was, I guess, sort of looking at the model for how we recognize what it is we do, which in a legal firm is billable hour culture. Your worth is measured purely based on the hours you work rather than the creative output you bring to any conversation. And I think I just started to become aware of a gap for me personally as to what I thought was more and more important to me. And what was missing was the creative output. And so I started to, have my classic midlife crisis going, I just don't think this is what I want to be doing with the rest of my life. And started to explore what it was that I could do creatively. I'd wanted to be an architect but couldn't draw. My high school art teacher said, mate, give it up. So I did.
That was brutal.
It was brutal. It was before computers, I think, before we had the ability to draw. And I guess, I took up photography at university. I did a lot of landscape photography as a hobby just to kind of find my creative outlet. But as I got older, I kept reflecting on all of this and just feeling a part was missing. And through my love of cooking and gardening, I guess I hadn't joined the dots that the aromatic profile of what sits whenever you cook and what sits whenever you're working with plants and you're sort of surrounded by this. Those dots I sort of joined a bit later when I decided to do a candle making course with a lovely friend who you know well, a lovely Elise from Maison Balzac. Yeah. Just one of the most gorgeous souls I think I know. And, I remember doing this candle making course and something happened when I added the fragrance to the candle. And I just remember having this physiological reaction and I couldn't explain what was happening, but I just noticed the power of scent to transform my mood, my mind. And I guess in that moment, I just felt there was a deep spiritual connection going on. And I decided to look into that further. So that's how it all started.
And it's amazing because you wouldn't think that a candle could be reinvented or discovered. Like
that's right.
Like you kind of it's like a chair. You go, how many more chairs do we need in this world? I mean, but you found something unique. It's something that really triggered your purpose and you connected with it. So How did you then make that shift from being a lawyer? Did you just walk in there one day and say, that's it, I found my calling?
Well, I guess because I mean, I'm a pretty hard marker when it comes to, I guess anything I do. So I probably set the bar pretty high around if I'm going to do this, I need to do it really well. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well learn from the best. And so I went to the Grasse Institute in France to learn, I guess, these skills that go into creating, designing, making a fragrance, and learning about the world of ingredients. So that's where I started. And I remember we had this moment in class when we were going around talking about what comes from where. And my teacher, who was this lovely lady who ran the Chanel perfume lab for 30 years, we got to Australia and she said, oh, they've got sandalwood, boronia and eucalyptus. And without thinking, I just put my hand up and jumped in with, excuse me, ma'am, but we got a few more. And she said, like what? And so I rattled off, Kunzia, Fregonia, Buddha wood, the myrtle family. And I guess she looked at me and she said, we've never heard of any of those.
Incredible.
And so I guess I, sort of felt bad. I didn't want to show the teacher up. So I just, was like, whatever. And then she called me over afterwards and I thought, oh, I'm in trouble now. And she just said, look, these are really interesting ingredients you've spoken about. That's fascinating. Like, tell me more, because we don't know about that. And I guess coming out of that conversation, there was this strong support from her to go, well, you should explore that further and you should take that story to the world because we don't know that story. And so I came back with a, bee in my bonnet thinking, okay, I've got an idea. There's something original here. Yeah. And to your point, I did think, does the world need another candle? Generally, the answer is no, unless you're doing something that is moving the needle from 0 to 1 that doesn't exist. I think that's the power of original thinking and having a great, output. So that's sort of the next chapter of where I got the confidence to explore.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's such a change, isn't it? A real big pivot.
Yeah.
Did you look at other options, or was just candles your only option? What other courses did you do?
Yeah, no, I didn't, because I guess I felt the connection between what I guess my childhood had been informed by, which was, being in the garden, growing up cooking and really loving cooking. I guess all the aromatic aspects to those formative experiences, they all came together when I really started to understand raw materials, the odor profile of everything, and how we can work with science and art, understand geography, understand, ancient civilization and practices around the significance of raw materials. There's so much complexity in all of that my brain was just on fire going, this is insane. It's complex and it's highly engaging. So I didn't feel like I needed to pivot further. I'd already pivoted 180 degrees and I was like, this is just so engaging. I'm ready to jump in.
What was the corporate world like before? I mean, you said you were 25 years in the job that you were doing. And funny enough, I watched last night a couple of videos of you, I think, presenting in your suit. You're a totally different guy. Like, your aura is so different. You're casual now, you're relaxed, you seem confident, it's interesting to see that transformation. But did you feel like, what was nagging you? What was the thing? Was it happening more and more frequently over time that you were just going, this is not what I want to do?
Yeah, I think I think the culture of a business model where your worth is measured purely on the hours you work. While I was able to work in that culture for 25 years, I think at some point they just got to this point going, this just can't be what the rest of my life is going to be about. I didn't think that was a meaningful exchange of value. I think that, so obviously got a bit critical around the model. It's a fairly inflexible model, so you kind of have to work out, well, is this what I want to do or not? And so that was a bit of a push factor. I think the gap, if you like, or the pull was, at heart, I'm a very creative person. And I guess I chose a career which was also something I loved. I loved the law. I loved the practice of the law, the problem solving, the complexity of what I did. But I guess I felt an enormous part of me was not being listened to or able to express itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's generally just, I was a partner in the world's largest law firm, working, 12-hour days to 18-hour days sometimes. And, the highs and the lows of those peaks and troughs of work leave very little room for anything else. And so I think when I just started to reflect on, as I said, this classic midlife crisis going, what else do I want to do? I just sort of felt the gap of me needed to be explored further. And it was a powerful enough part of my identity that I was willing to do lots of therapy and let go of those pillars of my identity that I'd had to date and go, well, it's time to let go of that. It's time to take a step into the unknown, back yourself, follow your heart, and dive in, learn. And I guess really for me, the heart of all of this is, I suppose, if you're passionate about something and you're curious, then it's the curiosity of that approach to life, which I think leads to everything. So it's curiosity which you can't suppress. Curiosity helps you read, it helps you smell everywhere you go. I mean, don't go on a bushwalk with me, because I will be stopping every 2 minutes to crush and smell and be left behind. But so that's kind of how. Well,
it's interesting too, because obviously in that firm that you're in, you would have been. I know you're talking about charging by the hour, but it would have been a very lucrative career.
Sure.
And it's interesting that because you went off and started a new business, the Raconteur, no guarantee of success, right? So
sure.
It's like you followed your heart. I always say that if I would still do what I do, because I'm obviously a creative person in a creative business, I'd still do it if money wasn't part of the equation. If I could do it, I'd still love it. I obviously, you try to encourage other people to find their way. I mean, how many people would have done a career like yours and just not had the confidence or found the thing that they really, really wanted to do? And often people come to me at the latter time of their life and say that they never found their thing. And that's it's terribly sad, I think, isn't it?
Well, look, I mean, that's right. I mean, I suppose it takes, yes, a lot of therapy to work through these issues, because you have to confront your identity. You confront the choices you've made, the decisions you've made. You've got to confront all that and question that. And you need a very supportive family around you and friends who support you through that, because you're basically re-examining your life. And when you talk about designing your life, there may be chapters, and there's a chapter of that which I love and don't regret, and it gave me incredible opportunity. I've met incredible people. I lived all around the world. I can't take anything away from that, but I also know that chapter came to an end, and I was ready for it to come to an end. And I suppose, since then, so many other lawyers come into my shop and say, I wish I could do what you're doing. And how did you do it? And so there are I've had investment bankers, I've had lawyers, I've had a number of my former clients who've just applauded me and thanked me for, I guess, finding the courage to do it, who respect my decision, and colleagues and peers, I suppose, the surprise was when just a number of people were dropping by saying, how did you do it? Because I wish I could do the same. And that's to your point, that I think you got to be a little bit brave to be willing to have that conversation and not be afraid of the answer, which could be it's time to move on. No
matter how much people around you supporting you, no matter how much therapy you've had, it's still a bloody hard thing to do. And often people don't make that decision, don't move forward because of that, and you get sucked back into your comfort zone. But it's amazing to see, not only have you made that move, but you've, like, in an incredibly short period of time, like 2 years, you've created a very successful brand. I mean, for the last 2 years, I see you in all kinds of magazines and supplements, and so why has it been so successful? Did you plan it that way? Is it just?
Well, of course, I planned it. I totally planned it that way. No, I guess. Well, the other crazy thing is we had a pandemic, and what was fascinating about this is we had a pandemic, and I guess I remember going to my partner saying, "Look, I'm going to retire," and People were like, what are you going to do? And I said, and I didn't really want to talk about it because I was so nervous about whether it would be successful or not. I just wanted to go and apply myself and quietly achieve and let my work speak for itself. And, I remember the Financial Review did a beautiful profile piece on me, and I guess it sort of allowed me to, quote unquote, come out as a candle maker to the world. And it was a wonderful moment. And I remember just the phone just didn't stop ringing after that with just congratulations and support. To your question about why has it been successful, look, I guess the pandemic taught us that one of the side effects of getting COVID is losing your sense of smell. And what the pandemic showed us was how important our sense of smell was, because smell and taste are linked. So when you taste food, about 70% of that experience is an aromatic experience where you're processing the aroma from food, which your brain is processing as well. So when taste suddenly was on the menu of something that was compromised and it was connected to smell, all of a sudden, two pretty main parts of how we live was on the agenda for something that everybody had to pay attention to and care about. So what we found during the pandemic is our business, really took off in that sense, because we found that home fragrance as a category, fragrance for the skin, small ways to enhance the routines of your life with ritual, self-care, and an uplifting way to approach that whole negative spiral of what the pandemic did to so much of us. This is where scent came into its own. And this was a worldwide experience, not just for me and for my brand. This was a worldwide phenomenon. And I didn't plan the pandemic, but clearly there was an amazing opportunity here for my business to take a bit of a spotlight, do something quietly, and let the work speak for itself.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I think that equally at the same time, we were forced to be in our homes, and some people were uncomfortable with that. People over time learn to be comfortable with their home and also then invest in their home more.
Sure.
And so obviously bringing a scent into your home can really change the mood and feel like a gift to your household, I guess, and that uplifting aspect of that.
That's right. And so that's, what we're touching on here is the power of scent to really tap into emotional well-being. And so scent has an ability, and so this is where, the amazing part of our sensory system, our olfactive system, is connected to the front of the brain where we process memory and emotion. And it's the only sensory system we have that does that. And so there are two, I like to think of scent as there's two big things going on. One is just the power of scent to enhance your mood, your emotion, and just transform the experience in that moment of what's happening to you, to uplift, to calm, to ground, de-stress, to invigorate, to energize, to assist with concentration. That's sort of one part of the functional benefits of working with natural ingredients in perfumery. The other is that scent and storytelling through scent allows us to also escape and connect us to memory. And so, or to take us to a place we may not have been. And so scent, when we're in lockdown and we've been locked in our homes, scent is a powerful tool to take us back to Bondi Beach, to take us back to Tasmania, to take us back to Hamilton Island, to take us to the Red Centre, to take us to Margaret River. Scent as a powerful tool, or even further afield, right? All of our travel. So the beauty of scent is this wonderful uplifting tool to connect us to those sorts of memories.
Yeah, and at the time you were based on Pittwater.
Yeah.
This beautiful heritage house, and you're around the corner at Montevallo is your factory. Is it a factory? What is it? Candle making shop?
My studio. Atelier, I think you say.
So obviously you're naturally kind of wanted to be close to nature. That's important for you?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I remember this house was an extraordinary home. It's called Ventnor. It's the oldest house in Sydney on the northern beaches.
Really? Wow.
It was built in the 1860s. And, I guess for me, it was perched on this ridge between Lovett Bay and Alvina Bay on the edge of the Ku-ring-gai National Park. And it's a very special home, obviously with great history, great bones and beautiful energy. with a 150-year-old Port Jackson fig tree. And every day I got to connect with nature. And whether it was going for a swim or a paddle off my jetty or a walk to a waterfall, which was, 5 minutes from my house, or up to the top of the ridge where there are beautiful sandstone carvings from our First Nations people, one of the largest rock art collections in Sydney. This was just an extraordinary gift. Yeah. And I guess I felt very privileged to have that opportunity, but it helped me stay pretty grounded and it helped me stay pretty, I suppose, content with the simple beauty that nature gave back to me. And I was, to be honest, it was a very special time to have that opportunity.
It's a very gentle place, and I feel like your brand's very gentle, if I can say that. But the raconteur is not such a gentle thing. What is the meaning of raconteur, and how did that name come about?
Yeah, so the raconteur means the storyteller, as you know, and I guess when I was thinking about what do I call this thing, so I had the idea. I knew I wanted to be, talking about Australian native botanicals. Yeah. I knew that was the story I wanted to celebrate. And I kept thinking, so I want to talk about the Australian botanicals. I want to tell that story. And I kept going, what's another word for storyteller? And then I kept thinking, so I was going round and round in circles, a few bottles of wine later. And I remember obviously stumbling across the raconteur and thinking, here's a word in English and French, which is pronounced the same.
Right.
It's spelt the same. Yeah. And here's a nice way for me to acknowledge the role of the French in perfumery with a word which can connect to both cultures, but which ultimately means and has great meaning for what I'm going to do, which is tell a great story.
Yeah. I always thought raconteur was someone like a bit of a dealer, kind of market, kind of trader kind of guy.
Well, there's that too.
Create a racket. We're in the shop. We're actually not in the shop, but we have on this wonderful background here your shop in William Street in Paddington. Spectacular shop. And, you've just obviously designed it to encapsulate your brand, not just the product, but you've got an incredible eye. I mean, where does this all come from? Has this just been like an incredible opportunity to express yourself across in the physical space?
Yeah, I think, this is the frustrated architect who never got to realize those dreams. And I mean, I am one of those people who will walk into any space and immediately start thinking about how to redesign it and move stuff around. So I guess interiors and aesthetics and the approach to life for me has always been highly aesthetic. But the concept for this store was also really about, I just sort of felt if I was going to do a retail environment, I didn't want to just put products on shelves. I just sort of felt those days were over. Really, we were coming out of a pandemic. Yeah. And everyone was saying, well, why would you do bricks and mortar? The world's moved to online. I'm like, well, no, it hasn't. Yes, it has, but no, it hasn't. What we're craving are unique experiences. And what we're craving are warm, inclusive environments which stimulate us and engage us. Not every experience has to be transactional. And I guess I felt that I wanted a space that I would love going to, where I could showcase Australia's botanicals on all 5 senses. And so we've got things in the store which combine visual art. We've got food ingredients, our native food ingredients. So we've got taste. We've obviously got scent covered. We've got beautiful fiber art from the Jumpy Desert Weavers, so it's tactile, beautiful things to touch. We've got books to educate and inform. And then on sound, we've got the sound of my voice when I teach. So I just felt I am working on a concept for an incredible soundtrack that we're developing connected to nature. So that's more to come. But I just wanted to showcase, even the tumbleweeds, something as simple as tumbleweeds, which just, roll around in the desert, something which is a weed, but which had a life, is now dead, but has a sculptural beauty. Yeah. And it's about seeing beauty in a different way, seeing beauty through all 5 senses, all connected to our beautiful, rugged landscape.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's a year old, the shop.
Yeah.
And as you say, you opened it, just the end of the pandemic? Or
just as we came out of lockdown in September, we opened it. and it's 1 year old. Yeah,
But that's kind of brave, isn't it? Like,
yeah, totally.
because we could have gone straight back into another lockdown. But
Sure.
you just were confident that this is the thing to do.
I just had a view, I suppose. I just knew this was right. It's regardless of whether anyone came through that door, I knew I had to do this for me. This was also about my ability to communicate who I am and what I'm doing and what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And I am a bit of a believer that if you build it, people will come.
Yeah.
I think if you're authentic and honest and you have integrity around your products and what you're trying to ultimately communicate, which is just showing us all the beauty of our backyard and showing us all a series of aromatic ingredients and perfumery that very few people know about. And I just felt that as Australians, as tourists visiting this country, why wouldn't you want to know more about that story? Yeah. It's a beautiful story. And we can all relate to it. We can all share in it. So I thought, let's do it.
And obviously, in the kind of such a beautiful street, that William Street, it's like the perfect street. I can't imagine you being in any other street. It's like it just feels so right. And I guess feelings is what this is about, right? It's not, might be some logic there. There might be a great business plan, but ultimately you're creating a brand that people feel, that interact with. Let's talk about designing for the senses, because obviously as a design company, as a branding company, we're constantly designing or redesigning brands and places and environments, etc. And so we talk about the fact that it's not just about typography, it's not just about a logo. A brand is a living entity, and scent is a very important part of that. So is sound, and so is touch, of course. But how do we get better as designers, as human beings, at embracing our senses and designing for them, as opposed to, inflicting a brand onto to people?
Well, I guess for me, this is about awareness. At its heart, I think, again, coming out of the pandemic, I think we were all made far more aware about all 5 of our senses, because when you cut people off from each other and you isolate people, you lock them up in their homes, you're creating a weird environment where our ability to connect has been compromised. So all of a sudden we're in our homes, we're still trying to work, we're still trying to transact, but we've lost the ability to be physically close to people. So all of a sudden, for me, there's a lot of inward reflection that comes from that. And I guess what my response to that was, we put out a couple of EDMs on our database, which was sort of first aid kits for the pandemic.
Yeah, cool.
And they were all about all 5 senses. Yeah. So we sort of try to lead a discussion about all 5 senses, how important they are. Here was nourishment on all 5 senses for just stuff we recommended that we were doing, and we just wanted to, I guess, offer that sort of type of advice and just put it out there. And I guess for me, when we think about designing for brands, I just think, we've worked with a lot of brands around town, ranging from Benelong at the Opera House to, Firedoor with Lennox, Pas Paley, working with Tourism Australia right now. We've just done a big project for Lexus. So these range from brands which are focused on ingredients, so perhaps the chefs and the food-related brands, through to venues like the Opera House, through to a car brand like Lexus, all wanting to communicate their identity, in this case through scent. And I guess I feel that this is just an enormous part of who we are, our physiology. And while we've been dominated, or our approach to life is generally dominated through a visual realm. And so that's how most of us process life, is visuals first. The pandemic has taught us that scent is an important part of who we are. So if we can tap into that, we have a better and a more elevated way to understand life and to tap into who we are. And as a brand, I guess my view is that every brand, if it hasn't already, should be exploring, is there an aromatic approach to defining who we are that we should be talking about? Because it enhances the overall brand experience, potentially takes it into people's homes, but it just showcases more of a 360-degree approach to how do you see something. It's not just one-dimensional, it's not just visual, it's more.
And it creates that connection, more meaningful connection.
Sure.
And that point of difference, which we're all looking for. We're all trying to find that unique point of difference. We're not all the same.
Correct.
No two brands are the same.
Even though we look the same.
Yeah, well, actually, I should have said in the very beginning, because we're not related in any way. And whenever we meet, we seem to be wearing the same clothes, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
I have a chat to my mum, make sure we're not related. So sustainability too. We're living in a time now when the environment is under enormous pressure. We need to make shift and change urgently to design a better world. Your products are locally sourced botanicals, soy wax, etc. So can you talk about that?
Sure. So I guess our approach to sustainability is it starts with design, and by that I mean we will look at ingredients which are currently endangered or threatened on the red list and basically exclude them because we won't work with plants that are threatened or endangered. We'll then look at, I guess, all of our packaging. Of course, we'll look at the paper sourcing. We'll look at biodegradability. We've gone through a process to eliminate as much plastic in our workplace as we can. Mm-hmm. But then I guess we get to every aspect of the product and its packaging, of course, but it all starts with design first. Mm-hmm. And then when we sell our products, we have a recycle and refill program where for us, we allow any of our customers to return their products back to us in their original containers. We will then remake those products in those containers, send them back to them, and for a 30% discount on the price. Mm. So we try to encourage, I guess, a more purposeful approach to consumption and just trying to ensure that there's just reuse going on as well. We also make a number of fragrances which are limited edition. The idea behind those is to really showcase ingredients that are rare and very special. And so we only make a limited number of the products. They're priced accordingly because they're rare and special. And the idea is to show a reverence for nature. Mm-hmm. So this is not about quick consumption, use every drop of that fragrance and be done and order it in a week. This is about use it for a year. Take as long as you want because there's only going to be 250 bottles of that and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So savor it.
Yeah, amazing. We've recently collaborated. I've been really excited this year on some of the collaborations we've done with Mud and other organizations, books, etc. But I approached you about a year ago and we sat down at your wonderful place in Wynnum Street and we talked about doing a candle and doing that together and what might that look like. And being an inquisitive person, asking questions, we talked about kind of, why, what is it, talking about candles and how they're made, etc. And kind of was quite intrigued by the fact that every candle has one scent. You do a lot of work in creating a candle, and that one candle has different kind of sensory tones throughout it. But we talked about books and we talked about publishing. We talked about, something that I feel a real affinity with. Dad was a letterpress printer and designed loads of books over time as well. And the idea of storytelling, literally storytelling in a candle, and what could be the multiple stories that could come from that. And we talked about this idea of having chapters and to have 3 chapters within the candle. So within the one candle, there is 3 layers, literally 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. And we actually called it chapters. Yeah. And it's being launched. This podcast is coming out slightly before the launch, but it's in production right now in Sydney. Really, really excited about that because we talked about this and you said that it hadn't been done before, whether it had or not, I don't know. Yeah. But I went back to Craig with 9 ideas. I got very excited about the themes. And so there was like...
I got terrified.
Yeah, exactly. He went very quiet for a bit there. We're talking about cities, a candle that had 3 cities, or music that had 3 tracks, or film that had 3 films, or books, etc. So he came back with 9 of those, which was phenomenal and really hard to sit in the studio and smell them over time and trying to work out which is the one felt much an affinity with, because obviously there's the logic in them, but equally it's something you got to feels right for you. We ended up doing this one candle's obviously films and music and books, and it was really exciting because I said to Craig, what would Pulp Fiction smell like? What would Jaws smell like? What would Fight Club smell like? And you took it very seriously. You didn't smirk. You didn't laugh. You didn't tell me to F off. You went away for quite some time.
Yeah, a year.
And you probably thought about what the hell am I doing.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting going like, well, what does those smell like? What is the music? What is hold on.
Wild Woods.
Wild Woods by Paul Weller smell like?
Perfect Day, Lou Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, this was an incredible brief because I guess music was so hard because, I mean, the tracks were incredible. You know, I listened to, Perfect Day, and I was listening to my car and it was sublime. I mean, I think I just burst into tears. Like it was just so moving. Well, it's just such a powerful song, right?
Yeah. Was the pressure as well? Or
what? And I just kept thinking, how do you capture this moment in scent? So it was a really hard brief, and it was really challenging. And I guess I started to then unpack each of the songs you had given me, and listen to them, listen to the lyrics, of course, try to get closer to the meaning behind each song, and then think about how do we tell that story with ingredients, and that's what we've done. And similarly with the films, I mean, they're iconic. And I just thought, again, it said so much about you. I thought what was interesting that we had so much of your personality sitting here and really trying to decode the meaning from those preferences and what it said about you. So fascinating, interesting, complex, but really
complex is like with a capital C.
But just really, really beautiful way to think about the lateral sort of shift from the visual medium of films, from the oral experience of sound, and to bring, and from I guess we had films, we've got books, we've got music, to bring all that together with aroma, and to look at ingredients which have meaning and significance over time and or emotional resonance. It's fascinating.
So how did you work out those specific ingredients? Because there must be like 10 ingredients per scent layer.
Yeah. So I guess part of the meaning, I mean, obviously I know our time is limited, but if we take music, for example, the theme behind, so some of the songs, we've got Wild Woods from Paul, we've got Close to Me, The Cure, we've got Perfect Day, Lou Reed, Wild Horses, The Rolling Stones. All incredible songs. There's an overarching theme in those songs about love. There's an overarching theme about the challenges of love, when things break down, when things go well. So there's heartache and tragedy in this.
You're going to make me cry now.
Yeah. It's a complex set of songs about the beauty of relationships and when they're perfect and when they're imperfect. And so that sort of took me down a path of really looking at ingredients, of which ingredients symbolize love. And that's your rose, right? Probably at its most classic form. But there's also, there's tragedy and heartbreak in some of this, and some of the tracks do go to, some of that bitterness. So we've got a beautiful Artemisia in here, which is a bitter green, savory herb, which is beautiful in its own way, but on its own, a bit pungent. But when worked beautifully with other ingredients, it provides comfort. So there's layering in here. I guess I threw an alcoholic note in this, the rum accord.
Rock and roll.
Because I felt with all of this, well, certainly there would be alcohol involved. And so little things like that. I guess I looked at the time when some of these songs were released, early 70s, patchouli. Well, of course we had to have patchouli. So we've got beautiful notes like this which help bring it all together. I wanted to have some woody note references, obviously, because some of these songs are about getting out of the woods, following your path. So we've got sandalwood in here, which is probably Australian sandalwood, one of my favorite ingredients. And then because it's sort of like quicksand, some of this relationship stuff is like quicksand. We've got vetiver, which is a grass, grows in sand. And I kind of like the idea of visually walking through that grass as you struggle through this relationship territory. So incredibly beautiful ingredients, all with meaning, but which came from an exceptional brief.
Well, incredible! Thank God you did what you did. There's such a science to that, although it's so much about nature, and there's so much rigor behind that. When you collaborate with people, there's yin and yang, isn't there?
Sure.
One part plays. You play different parts in this, and so it's been wonderful to catch up with you, to work with you on this project, and we've got another one coming out the following year, which would be really exciting, pending how this all goes. But I'm really excited. It's been such a wonderful opportunity to catch up with you, Craig, as well. I think that it's incredible to see you go from strength to strength, to find your calling, to listen to the inner voice and make those kind of hard decisions to kind of change your career like you have, and to be investing the time and energy into what you love doing and seeing how it resonates with so many people. It's incredible. I mean, have you designed your life, do you think?
I think I've designed chapter 2 of my life, and I feel like I have such a more heightened sense of what I'm doing with my time, what I'm focusing on. So I've moved well beyond sort of an aesthetic appreciation for life into meaning, and kind of getting back to the heart of who I am as an individual and what matters to me. So that's what I mean when we talk about designing your life. Yeah. So yes, to be continued. I don't know what chapter 3 looks like, but that's chapter 2.
Yeah, possibly you'll reinvent yourself again.
Sure.
But it'd be interesting. Have you got like a business plan? I mean, I imagine being a lawyer that you'd have a really solid business plan.
Yeah, I did. I started with one, and I had, I reviewed them for a living. So yes, I had one. And then soon realized part of my strategy where I thought demand would lie didn't materialize, so I quickly had to pivot. And I guess I have a series of notes on my phone, and I just have categories of opportunity. And wherever I am in life, if there's a set of ideas, I think the hardest thing is often remembering what those great ideas were. You wake up the next morning, you go, gee, remember that great thing that I said yesterday? So I do try and pay attention to my own thoughts. And in a world of exceptional distraction with technology, I try and have very dedicated days with minimal technology. And I'll dedicate an entire day to just checking the phone once in the morning, off for the day. And it's literally an immersion into what's happening in my brain and my creative thought processes. And then putting my head up at the end of the day to see what came out of that. So... Yeah, amazing.
I think that's a really good piece of advice in terms of detoxing from technology, because it's around us everywhere. We totally get consumed by it, and it's become everything for us. I'm really, really inquisitive about how people are going to interact with this particular candle that we've done together, because there are 3 layers. There's 3 stories.
Sure.
I took one with me on a business trip recently, and I smelled. I had it burning at my parents' house in Sussex, and I'd be really kind of intrigued to see how people, what they think of that transition from layer 1 to 2, or story 1 to 2, and then 2 to 3, and what that combination of the 2 smells is really interesting, because it's not something that I guess you can design it, but there's also something that just happens. A chemical reaction or that transformation of a smell into another smell is interesting.
Yeah, I think conceptually what we've done here, as I said when we first spoke a year ago, and I remember sitting in the courtyard garden at the embassy when you came in, and we were having this chat, and I think your eyes lit up when you're like, oh, can we have more than one scent in a candle? And I kept thinking, well, I've never considered that question before, and I've never seen a product on the market which does that. And I remember thinking, wow, this is the beauty of working with somebody who thinks outside the box, because you're asking questions which I've never asked and I've never seen anyone answer. So the answer must be, let's have a look. We did. And so I think just on this, what's interesting is most fragrances, all fragrances comprise top, middle, and base notes. And when you design a scent, you design a scent with that in mind. So some will, diffuse quicker than others. And every fragrance is typically constructed in that way. What we have here is 3 different fragrances layered within this candle, poured at different times. So we start with the third chapter on the base. We pour that scent. We let that set. We pour the second layer. We let that set. We pour the first layer and let that set. And each one of those fragrances is different. They are unique. They relate to the concepts we've been talking about in terms of books, in terms of films, in terms of music. And when you light the candle, you've got to travel through time to get to the next layer. So you've got to go and make the effort to get there. But there's an interesting thing, because when you melt candles, obviously you light the candle, the wax gets melted, and then slowly the candle burns off. And then there's a little period of time in these two chapters where chapter 1 will meet chapter 2. There'll be a little bit of blending as those two wax pools meet, but thereafter, the chapter 1 has dissipated, and you're then in chapter 2. And there is a noticeable change in the experience. And I guess what I loved about this brief was, I genuinely believe we've done something which hasn't been done before.
Cool.
I'm certainly not aware of another candle. It may well be, but I'm not aware of anyone. And they're 3 incredible concepts which are personal to you, and I think they're beautiful.
Thank you. And it came to life through working closely together. And I think that, what you've done with your life is incredible, great example of how you can turn a corner and find the thing that you're truly passionate about. And most importantly, the positive effect you have on other people's lives. You're not ripping people off. You're not selling rubbish. You're actually contributing to people's happiness. And they may not be aware of it, but they're actually, you're enhancing people's lives. It's incredible opportunity to meet you and to done this collaboration together. It's really cool. I hope people really enjoy this conversation and inspire other people to find the thing that they really, really love. To search and explore and, turn over stones, try stuff. You may not get it right away. You're incredibly lucky to get it. Look like you got it right away. Other people might take several attempts, and don't get despondent. Keep persevering, and most important, do the thing that you absolutely love.
Well, Vince, thank you. I mean, it's been amazing to work together. It's taken us about a year to get through these concepts and create. I think it's been worth the wait, and I think this is good storytelling at its heart. So it's authentic and it's beautiful. So thank you.
Craig,
It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Design Your Life with the Raconteur founder, Craig Andrade. For more info on our recent Frost Chapters candle collab, head to the website in the episode notes of this podcast.